Nassau County cops say tonight they've arrested a 17-year-old from Queens. He was allegedly involved in the Christmas Day between two gangs at the Sunrise Cinema on Long Island.
Nas calls E. E, what's up? Yo, man, that J, man, when I see on sight, I'm all over the I'm fucking this up on sight.
That's what Jay said. That's what Jay said.
That's Jay was saying. He
wow.
said, oh, yeah, you ain't got,
said,
I'm going to see you when I see you.
It comes as a surprise to the public that Jay-Z at one point was so afraid of someone to the point where for 2 weeks he didn't leave his house. When this famous man felt disrespected by Jay, he called him to express his disappointment, but Jay responded in an offhanded way even though he was allegedly scared of the repercussions. Jay then allegedly started making phony calls to his acquaintances asking them to talk with the man and plead with him to not harm Jay. But who was this man that had Jay trembling in fear? And what had Jay-Z done to warrant this man's anger? Let's get into it. Eric Smith, who was born in November 19th, was better known by his stage name E-moneybags and was an American rapper. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, but raised in Queens, and he turned out very street savvy. He was known for his gangster style and how he would take matters into his own hands, and this seems to be the main reason Jay-Z was terrified when he crossed him.
And like, E, what's up? Yo, man, that J, man, when I see that on sight, I'm all over nigga. I'm on sight when I see his.
It was alleged that E-moneybags was mad about Jay having an artist on his roster with the Moneybags name and called into Hot 97 to let Jay know how he felt about the situation, but Jay acted calm and secure on the air by simply telling E that he didn't respect what he was doing. Despite how Jay responded, it was alleged that a few days after the conversation on Hot 97, Jay called his friends and asked them to talk to E-moneybags and try to somehow be the middlemen in a truce. Jay said that since their Hot 97 encounter, he had been getting threatening phone calls and even had a death threat left on the front door of his private home, making it impossible for him to leave his house. When the Quintans had talked to E-Money about the issue, the rapper confessed to calling Jay a couple of times but said he wasn't threatening him and that their beef wasn't that serious and that he just wanted the guy to quit using his name. Turns out E-Money wasn't really sweating the situation, but Jay had allegedly become so paranoid of what would happen to him that he was afraid of going out in public in case he ran up against E-Jay kept lamenting, saying, "That sneaky man is gone, try something. That sneaky man is gone, try something." While E-moneybags was an artist, he only released one album, and it was DJ K. Slay who released a tribute mixtape to E-moneybags after his death that propelled him to stardom. The mixtape contained freestyles and unreleased tracks by E-moneybags. He released his first and only album in 1999 entitled In E-moneybags We Trust. During his career, E-moneybags worked with several well-known hip-hop acts like Tupac Shakur, Live Squad, Prodigy, Noreaga, Bravehearts, Nas, and he was known to be friends with the notorious Big. Following the very public argument between him and Jay, E-moneybags recorded a couple of diss songs aimed toward the rapper, none of which provoked a response from Jay-Z. The best known of these records was entitled The Gospel. This song is also significant as it is the last song he recorded before his hailing from Brooklyn's Sumner projects. Smith attended Westinghouse High School along with the notorious B.I.G. and the famous Jay-Z, cultivating a close relationship with the former, while his dealings with the latter would eventually turn cantankerous. Smith earned his name for being about his bottom line and would resort to the streets to earn his living. From selling to being a stick-up kid, extortion, and even he built quite a reputation with friends and enemies alike. In fact, for residents of Queens and Valley Stream who would frequent the now-destruct Sunrise Multiplex Cinema in Valley Stream and wondered why were there metal detectors in a movie theater.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brenda Blackman, sitting in for Jennifer Valapi. There has been an arrest in the Godfather 3 theater shootout.
Shootings left 3 people wounded and a 15-year-old boy dead.
Well, Smith's crew and an opposing posse began to argue during a showing of The Godfather III, and thus a shootout erupted between the conflicting gangs, with Smith shooting a rival 15-year-old in the head and K-ing him. He was beloved by his friends because he was supportive and showed lots of love, while he was hated by his enemies for his cunningness and ruthlessness. After relocating from Brooklyn to LaFrac City, Queens, E-Moneybag once again began to run with legends of the hip-hop world. One he was particularly close to was Tupac Shakur, whom he met in the early 90s due to their street ties. While rappers hold most of the sway in this day and age, this was the era where the rapper's looks, style, lingo, and subject matter derived from whatever the street dudes were into. Most importantly, record contracts were still so bad back then that the rapper might be broke, while the hustler would be rolling in dough, which is why E-Moneybag and Shakur's relationship cultivated so quickly. Not simply because of their similar mindsets in uniting people for a better cause, but because they would do street dealings in tandem. When Shakur was incarcerated as a result of his SA case, E-Moneybags was one of the few people to visit him and even informed him on who gave the order that led to his infamous shooting at Quad Studios. After Shakur's release and subsequent rebranding as a West Coast act, despite being born in Harlem and spending much of his time in Hollis, Queens E-Moneybags had developed relationships with many other prominent turned legendary hip-hop acts, having befriended the likes of 50 Cent, Noreaga, Nas, Cormega, and Prodigy, who he became especially close to and spent many of his finals days and weeks with, while steadily treading the line between family man and street hustler. Ironically, their relationship began to forge at a time when Prodigy was embroiled in a rap beef with his former schoolmate, Jay-Z. The tension between the MCs was a result of a line heard in Hov's Money Cash record, the third single from his 1998 Grammy-winning album, Vol. 2, Hard Knock Life. What's the dealings? It's like New York's been soft. Ever since Snoop came through and crushed the buildings, I'm trying to restore the feelings he was referring to. Snoop Dogg and West Coast duo Tha Dog Pound Corrupt and Daz Dillinger crushing the Twin Towers in their video for their record, New York, New York. Take 10 steps. Prodigy and many other New York rappers took great offense to Jay-Z's lyrics, because it was as though he was dissing them for not standing their ground. But, from their perspective, when the tension between the East and West Coast was at its peak, Jay-Z was nowhere to be found. Even when Tupac dissed him, it was rappers like Prodigy and Havoc who took it upon themselves to defend New York with records like L.A., L.A. Upon learning of Prodigy's tension with Jay-Z, Smith made his feelings on Hov clear. While the beef between Jay-Z and Prodigy intensified, it would get personal between Smith and Jay-Z as well. While listening to a Rockefeller freestyle on Hot 97, Smith was stumped to hear that Jay-Z had marketed one of his upcoming artists as E-Moneybags, which left him incensed. He had Prodigy call up the radio station, and after getting on the phone with Hov, he let him know how he felt about his artist biting his style.
I did say Prodigy called for him and passed E the phone.
Yeah. He like, yo, he like, who this? He like, yo, it's P. E want to talk to you. And he passed that nigga E the phone.
From there, Smith decided to seriously consider a rap career. After all, he was close to some of the biggest rappers out, and he felt as though it was easy money, referring to it as stick up without a He would release his only project, In E-Moneybags We Trust, in 1999. Unfortunately, Smith would not live long enough to see his hip-hop dreams pan out. There are conflicting stories as to what led to his demise. One theory is that Kenneth Supreme McGriff, leader of the infamous and feared Supreme Team, refused to return a down payment Smith had placed on a Lincoln Navigator. Once again, feeling disrespected, Smith resorted to street rules and sought out McGriff to unalive him. At the end of 1999, Supreme and his right-hand man, Colbert Black Just Johnson, got into an argument with QB rapper E-Moneybags. Supreme and E-Money both pulled out guns. Supreme's gun jammed while E-Money allegedly shot and unalived Black Just. 2 years later, McGriff hired a Queens couple to plan the M of E-Money. After videotaping his movements for several days, the couple opened fire on E-Money, K-ing him while he was sitting inside his SUV. During Supreme's trial, it was alleged that, upon hearing the news of E-Money's death, McGriff sent a text message to M Inc.'s Irv Gotti saying, "You missed the party." Another theory is that his death was the result of him robbing M. Inc. CEO Irv Gotti, his brother Irv Gotti, and Ja Rule, which Irv Gotti referred to during a 2020 appearance on Noreaga's Drink Champs podcast. Nonetheless, Smith's street dealings caught up to him in July 2001. While at a barbecue at his friend Majesty's house, 4 men crept up while he sat smoking and eating in his Navigator. Men fired over 40 rounds into his vehicle, hitting him over 10 times and ultimately K-ing him. In February 2007, Gang Supreme Team's founder, Kenneth Supreme McGriff, was found guilty of ordering the M of E-moneybags and Troy Singleton in 2001. He was sentenced to life in prison for this and other related crimes. Law enforcement officials contended that Kenneth Supreme McGriff ordered Eric Smith's M to avenge the December 1999 K-ing of a friend, Colbert Johnson. In late August 2001, when investigators raided a Baltimore stash pad used by McGriff, they found $30,000 in cash, loads of cocaine and heroin, and a particularly incriminating surveillance videotape. On the video, which bears recording dates of July 13 to 16, 2001, Smith is seen driving and parking his Lincoln Navigator on 111th Road, the Queens Village street where the rapper would later be shot about 10 times by gunmen. Investigators determined that the video was shot by Dennis Devine Crosby, a dealing McGriff associate, and Nicole Brown, Crosby's girlfriend. Nicole Brown told an NYPD detective that the surveillance video was shot from her home, with Crosby handling most of the filming. She also admitted personally videotaping Smith up until 20 minutes before his K-ing, and that, 2 days after the M, Crosby requested the videotape from her. The affidavit does not detail how the surveillance videotape, which Crosby shot from a nearby apartment, made its way to McGriff's stash house. Despite how terrified people were of E-moneybags, they still respected him, and he was able to make friends that we now consider legends, both in the gangster scene and rap scene. After his passing, he was survived by his son, named after him, Eric Smith Jr. On E-moneybags, Death a Fan on X, previously Twitter said, McGriff is alleged to have had a hand in the 2002 M of Run DMC member Jam Master Jay and was convicted of ordering the 2001 K-ing of Mobb Deep affiliate E-moneybags, real name Eric Smith. Federal authorities also accused him in connection. Another commented on how scary E-moneybags was. I've been trying to keep my mouth closed, but I can't. Where was this energy when E-moneybags damn near made Irv Gotti cry in Def Jam's parking lot? I was sitting on the hood of my car watching the whole thing. E-moneybags had Irv scared of his own shadow. What are your thoughts on E-moneybags and how revered he was in the industry? Do you guys believe Jay was actually terrified of him? Tell us in the comment section. That's it for this video. Bye.